Support the Amigos podcast and keep the Amiga goodness flowing for just $1 a month. Visit our page at patreon.com/AmigosPodcast.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Amigos, the podcast about everything Amiga. Amigos is a proud member of the Throwback Network, your home for quality retro podcasts. And now, here are your hosts, Aaron Dowdy and John Bodovkar Schaller.
Ranger.
What is that?
That's my Scottish accent.
That's what Scottish? I thought you were Boris Badenoff.
Scottish
Moose and squirrel.
Sometimes I get those two confused.
No
Russian
kidding.
and
You know,
Scottish.
Russian and Scots. We got so much in common.
So, before we get into the show, though, we did have one little bit of feedback. John Nash wrote in, and he said that there was... Remember, we were talking about the IT Crowd?
Yeah.
And he said there was a U.S. pilot of the IT Crowd starring Joel McHale. He said that it used to be on YouTube, but now only a clip exists. It was awful.
I told you. I knew it. And there was... They do that to all the British shows that are worth a crap, right? For example, Sanford and Son. That was I think it was called Aesop and Son in the UK. You know, AbFab, IT Crowd. You know, I'm telling you, there was a Young Ones too. I'm pretty sure of that one. So don't do it. Just stop.
Yeah.
And no one's exporting our shows.
No.
That'd be a big mistake. So yeah.
We
contribute nothing. This is it.
This is our major contribution to the world, the Amigos podcast.
Oh, we're so sorry.
We had a couple people send in this video. This is O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, and also Pishbot sent in a YouTube video of a thing called The Gathering.
Oh yeah, from '93.
Right.
I watched this.
And so this is a little bit of The Gathering.
It touched me to a certain degree because it was neat to see that many people.
Did it bring you back?
No, because I've never seen this many Amigas in one spot ever. The truth of the matter is, I'm guessing these were high-level demo programmers that were going to work, trying to win this thing. And no, in the States, did we ever have a demo scene ever?
If there was one, yeah, I don't know about it.
I mean...
I know we had like a lot of people that would, like Rob O'Hara talks about, you know, redoing the crack screen so it says his name. Does that count?
I don't think that counts. I mean, honestly, we had Rob talks about like a poetry slam scene and some other weird things. I don't know what was going on in Oklahoma. I never saw any poetry or writing stuff. Or I'd see back in the old BBS days, I'd see a little something, with maybe some stories or something, but it was not a thing.
Right.
Antsy graphics, that was a thing. So I guess that sort of counts, but we're nothing like what's going on here.
Yeah. Look at that laptop.
I know. That looks like an old. That wasn't an Amiga, obviously. That was an old PC of some sort. I actually worked on one of those when I was at the store. It looked very similar to that. Wow. There's a real ancient laptop. Yeah, they were not good. Oh, there's a great shot there. 1993 Heine. That's a good shirt.
I was going to say, that's back when people knew how to wear sweaters, too.
You know, and you've got all these 1084s. It's great. And I don't know where this was. Is this Germany?
This is Norway, I'm pretty sure.
This is Norway. Hey, it's good. I saw people drinking Mountain Dew, and people are the same all over. It's the same kind of crowd. I bet this is a lot of fun. And I saw there were several other videos from the gatherings, and I guess they're still going on, right? So we covered that last year.
Yeah, and there are several other videos from later gatherings that I saw in the related YouTube. So if you want a nostalgia trip, check those out.
Yeah, that was great. That was a good find.
Next, we've got. I want to plug some events. We kind of had some messed up things last week with our microphone and our cameras, and everything was terrible. So I'm going to give these events one more plug. The first one is Retro Revival. This is an event that's held in the UK on a regular basis.
Well, look at their revival. Let's look at their placard here. They've got Mario, and they've got the Street Fighter guys, and they got Sonic. So I guess that stuff's now officially retro.
Oh yeah, it's all retro.
That's hard for me to handle. And then there's a little Amiga ball there, shoved in.
Well, I mean, do you think that Amiga ball would be shoved in if this was in the States? No chance.
Oh God, no.
It would just be Mario and Sonic. And
we could get Super Frog shoved in there, or Amy the Squirrel. That's all we. I'm trying to get an Amiga mascot, and I guess it's when your mascot is a multicolored ball.
You know you haven't done your job in your marketing department.
Doesn't stand out.
Maybe we can ask David Pleasance about that. But this is the 21st, or the 20th and 21st of May in 2017, over at Bank Stadium. You know where that is, over in Walsall. So
I don't know where that's at.
So I've got a special offer for Amigos listeners. Chris Folds has promised free beer for the first 10 Amigos that say hi to him. So you need to figure out who Chris Folds is. Just listen to some of his YouTube videos and learn his voice. And then just listen around and see if you can find his voice. He might also be wearing an Amigos shirt, and that would help as well.
You know what I would do? First of all, I would almost go there just for the beers. And I don't like beer that much. But what you do is at this thing, as loud as you can, all right? You just walk around going, Chris Folds!
That's
over and over until he goes, shut up!
It's like playing Marco Polo in a way.
Or yeah, just go, Chris! And when you hear Folds...
You found your man.
That's all. Then you just embrace right there. That's all. That's very good.
Yeah,
I'm glad to see beers are being given away on behalf of the show.
Oh yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Man.
So and we'll bring it up again before it's time. We got a few months before it'll go down. The next thing I'd like to tell you about is Family Game Night. This is over at the Center for Computing History in Cambridge.
Ooh, I bet that's awesome.
Yeah, and 80. Who is the singer in the British band IBM?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he is he's a part of this museum, and he is and they do these family game nights from time to time. It looks like a really awesome way to, if you got little ones and your significant other, to come out and show them some computing history. And how can you not want to support a museum called the Center for Computing History?
I think everything about this sounds like $1 million. I'm looking at this over. It's a cheap. Trust me, when I take the family out for a movie, for example, it costs the big bucks. Like, this is nothing. It's a great way to take your family out and expose the little guys and girls to some of the vintage stuff. Mm-hmm. Tremendous. And take it from me, I'm sure most of our listeners probably already know this. The kids dig the retro stuff.
Oh yeah,
my kid loves it. I think it's a good idea.
So there's that, and then finally, our buddy Ravi from the Retro Hour, he sent us one more video to just take a look at. This is a video of the Amiga Ireland meetup.
Oh yes, which we talked about extensively.
And
what's going on here?
This is wow. So this is
you get hosed down before you go in. They're decontaminating Ravi.
Let's see if we can skip to some of the hot action here. Here we go.
Nice floors. There's your. Oh boy.
You can't escape them, even in Amiga.
There we go.
So now already, I know that we remarked last week. This is already more Amigas in one place than we've ever seen in our life.
On the run.
I know. I've been hitting the run a little hard this evening. So custom sticks.
Yeah, beautiful. So you could do that. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Have
you ever made your own?
What the hell is that?
Your own joystick?
Was that a fax machine or what the hell? Have I ever did what now?
Have you ever made your own joystick?
Absolutely. And Brent, of course, if you recall, made the quintessential joystick box. It was very similar to that one actually. So yeah, I've done my own. It didn't. I'm not a woodworker, but I know that's stunning for people to.
I remember you talking about making some shelving at one point.
Yes, and that didn't happen because wood costs money.
Yeah,
unfortunately, and you can't just go and take some limbs off a tree and pull it off.
Not anymore. Not like you used to.
No, well, you could. What the hell's that mean? Did you have a lumber yard in your back?
I got trees back there.
Can you go back there and make your own planks?
What do you think I do before the show every week?
Wow.
Making planks. So, news. That was, what do you got for news this week, Aaron?
Well, like I said, so last week some of our news items got the edit. And we've run this as pretty much a no-edit podcast. So when we have to go in there and go to work, things what's out. Let's see, last week, there's a new Amiga CD32 compilation that came out. It was called the Box Trilogy. It features some kind of cartoony homebrew games from a fellow called Lemming 880, and it's free stuff, for the CD32. I also saw just today, along the CD32 lines, a fellow released some sort of Batman demo disc. I saw a video from it on Indie Retro Gaming News, and it just looked like, I don't know if they showed everything it is. It just looked like it had the music from the original Batman movie, and then some footage of someone beating the hell out of the Joker in game. But it was kind of neat. So if you're into that sort of thing, I want to re-pitch again. This is from last week's show, but I've had another cup of coffee with it. The Amiga online multiplayer website, Amiga Live, and there it is. It's a neat piece of software you install. It's based on FSUAE. When you install this, you can hook up to a server in your area. Even we have one in the U.S., and you can play games on it with multiple people. The games are built in, so you don't have to even download ROMs or do anything. And it works well, as far as I can tell. And I'm looking forward to getting on here and fighting some people, or playing some soccer, football, whatever you want to do. So
yeah, look what the first game is.
Yeah,
they know where their bread's buttered. If you got Rodland on there,
Rodland is the bomb. We love some Rodland. So give that a shot. And if anyone out there gives this a shot or has played it in the past, let us know what you think. It seems good. Again, I want to credit the Retro Asylum guys. I heard about this years ago, but I hadn't really touched on it. I didn't know what was going on with it. And then the Retro Asylum guys had an episode where they played, I think it was Supercars on it, Supercars 2, and it sounded like it was great. So I went to check it out. So those boys are always on top of it. We probably should replug you the T-shirt store.
Yeah.
Which right here is a prime example of the lovely Amigos T-shirt. I got mine in the mail. Good quality shirt. Hey, if they make a shirt that I can fit into, good to go.
So if you go to tpublic.com and then just search for Amiga Tees, or if you just go to amigospodcast.com and click on this link, you will find a wide variety of Amiga shirts for sale, including our very popular Amigo staff and supporters.
I've not seen the first female Amigo.
Yeah, that was we had a special request for that from one of our Patreon supporters. In fact, she might be in the chat right now, Brooke. If you are out there, thank you for requesting that shirt. I was glad to make it. But anyway, if you want to support the show, if you want to wear cool Amiga shirts, check out Amiga Tees on tpublic.com.
And they're good shirts. Like I said, I just got this one in the mail the other day, and they've got good sizing, and it's a good quality shirt. So
yeah,
for that sort of thing. If you're local to the United States, which I know a lot of our listeners are not, and if you're local to the Ohio area, CorgsCon 2017 will be coming up this year again. I go to Corgs. I've been probably 3 or 4 times, and I'm going to hopefully get down there again. It's once again in Columbus, Ohio. It'll be May 27th. It's 10 a.m. to 4, and they've announced that it's going to be in the McCoy Center, 5462 Center Street, Hillard, Ohio, 43026, which is basically Hillard's right outside of Columbus. And $7 to get in, $10 get you in early. They've got a good amount of, they've got a tremendous amount of stuff for sale there. The Columbus area retro gamers guys are really connected. They always get the best guys that come out to this thing. I don't think I've ever seen any Amiga stuff there, unfortunately, because this is America. We don't get jack squat. But I have seen C64 stuff. I've bought a lot of multi-carts there. I've bought lots, and I usually go there and stock up on joysticks. And I'll be doing that again this year. And power supplies, stuff that go out. I usually go up there and get as many as I could. You get good deals. Mm-hmm. And some TurboGrafx stuff, sometimes a lot more. As I've noticed in the past few years, you're seeing more and more Nintendo, Super Nintendo, as that stuff slowly takes over. It's funny to watch the Atari cartridges and the Coleco stuff get sort of
swept under the rug,
kicked to the curb. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that the prices don't go down.
No,
but they
just shift them to online.
It's like, well,
sales.
No one's buying these.
Yeah.
It's like, what about me? So sometimes you can make a bargain if they just want to unload this stuff, but a lot of them are just not bringing it anymore. So it's kind of a bummer. But last time I was at this, it was a really good show. So I fully endorse it. We'll put a link up to get everybody set up on that. I noticed this week, I thought this was kind of strange, that someone has ported or is in the process of porting Moonstone to the C64, which I thought that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see how that turns out.
I saw one of the screenshots of that.
Yeah, and it looked good. I guess good as it's going to look.
Mm-hmm. One thing that we should talk about is the Amiga Game Jam.
Yes. In fact, I think that has concluded, and you can kind of scope out the winners and play their games. I did get to see in-game footage of Last Starfighter. Finally, it looks okay. The title screen looks great.
Right.
But it is what it is.
I think the big winner out of this is Bridge Strike. I'm such a fan of River Raid.
Yeah, it looks good.
And having just a variety of environments, and top-down, more simple, sort of slower-paced shooter than some of the frantic.
It looks very NES-y, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and I like that.
I think that pretty much covers it. They did one thing that we touched on last week, and I'll mention it again. Amy Kit 9 reloaded for the Mac. It came out just about a week ago, and I've heard good things. It has some interesting additional advantages, like you could run Mac apps from inside of the Amiga environment, which I don't know how that works, but that might be interesting. So if you have a Mac, get your Amiga on and take care of that. So I think that pretty much covers. Kind of a slow news week this week. I didn't really see a whole lot going on. I always see releases they've updated various bits of hardware like the Vampire and whatnot, but that stuff gets updated a lot. So,
yeah.
So that's pretty much it, man. You got anything else? What site updates?
So with site updates, we've got a few. We have the newest thing, Amigos Plays Awesome. So I know that you've been plugging for an awesome show for a long, long time.
I have. This is when we were
experimenting with having our fans vote on which game that we played. Awesome was up for contention multiple times.
Yeah, and it didn't do well. And I think a lot of people just, maybe I just like it more than everybody else. I'm a Psygnosis mark. I love the box. I love the intro is awesome, and I love the game. It's not without its flaws. They do a lot. It's got a lot of stuff going on, but I enjoyed it, and it was just a quick look. So that's what I wanted to touch on, and I figured, what the hell? So I gave that a go. I've actually got a couple more in the kitty that'll be coming out this week. So,
awesome! Can't wait to see.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've also got Amigos Plays ATR. This is a Chris Folds joint.
Yeah.
ATR looks like a really awesome top-down racing game in the theme of supercars or something like that.
Yeah. This was again. I've not played this. Man. I was impressed.
Yeah.
It looks good.
And I love top-down racers, so I'm definitely going to be giving this a shot.
Yeah. And I like the fact that as I was watching, it looked like the Team 17 headquarters was in it.
Oh, cool!
Yeah, like you could run into it.
We've got hardware news. Our faithful Amigos contributor Jason Warrens has created a RGB to S video adapter that it's currently in the post to us now.
Oh boy!
And as soon as we get that in, we're going to do a special video on that, getting it hooked up, and hopefully we'll be able to shoot a lot more of our Amigos footage from Amiga footage from Amigo Studios using a real Amiga 500.
That's going to be sweet. And I'm going to have a good hard look at his. You see, he's got the
schematic
all
there,
the schematics up there, and see what he's done.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome if it works well. I can't wait to see how it looks because I've got S video on the CD32, which is cool, and so to have that on your 500, wow, that'd be outstanding.
Yeah.
And also give us more. The House Amiga has not gotten a lot of action here recently, and basically because it's such a. Even with the wacky contraption we've got hooked to it, it's just such a hassle, and it's so unyieldy and difficult to move around with this wacky thing on it. So hopefully this thing will be the answer to what we're doing, the cheap answer. And thank God for this fella.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. It's very good.
Okay, and finally, our last site update is a new Xenomorphs in Ditto Land article by Dreamcatcher about the 5th Gauntleteer. So this is basically an article about a game called Puffy's Saga, and have you had a chance to read this one?
I have not read that one yet. In fact, I didn't know it was even up there until you mentioned it.
Puffy's Saga is kind of like if you took Pac-Man, like the Pac-Land version of Pac-Man, sort of like the 3D.
The one no one liked.
Yeah, and put him in the Gauntlet universe. So you're basically playing Gauntlet with Pac-Man.
How bizarre.
It is. It's a strange thing.
How bizarre.
And in the normal Dreamcatcher way, he goes way in depth and talks about the people involved and everything. And it's just another outstanding effort on his part.
Yes, awesome. It's always gold.
Yeah.
Always gold.
Yeah. And that's it for the site updates this week.
Beauty.
So, why don't we jump right into the game?
Beautiful, beautiful. So this week we're taking a look at Rocket Ranger. Rocket Ranger was released in '88, came on 2 discs, and it was published by Cinemaware, one of our faves. Looking down the list of how this thing was made, it's some of the usual suspects, and a lot of guys haven't really seen that much of from Cinemaware. So this is kind of in a weird way. Some of the guys that work on this aren't the more prolific. Some of them are, but a lot aren't. But some of the guys aren't as prolific in Cinemaware. It was the Jacobs, which we've talked about Cinemaware so many times, so I'm not going to go back into their history. But Philip and Robert Jacobs, sort of like the brains behind the outfit, they were once again at the helm. And John Cutter, it's the exact same setup they've always had, which is basically John Cutter sort of yields the whip, and make sure the production goes the way they want it. The artist on this, which I always thought the art in this was quite good. They had a lot of different people working on the graphics on this, including some people you would see before. I'll mention a few of the names: Jeff Godfrey, Jeffrey Hilbers, Rob Lataros, Steve Quinn, and these guys. A lot of worked on TV Sports Football. It came from the deserts. A lot of the same came from the desert people worked on this, and which would make sense.
It's a very brown game.
Yes. The music, which I think is really good, they do a good job of having that heroic sort of classic Commander Cody-ish type music. It came from a fellow named Bob Lindstrom. He really didn't do a whole lot on the Amiga. He did Lords of the Rising Sun, which actually admittedly has good music. He did TV Sports Football. And the voices in this, I was amused that they're basically, the voice work in this is basically employees of Cinemaware. For example, the buxom beauty in it is voiced by John Cutter's wife.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Again, this came out in '88, so around the OCS. Before we get into the game itself, just a little technical thing of interest. This game was, and this is sort of a Cinemaware thing. The Amiga disc, I believe, held 880K. Cinemaware had a special technology that would let them. Basically, they had their own operating system, and it would allow them to put more stuff on the disc, like considerable amount more. And it was like so that's why they had they seemed like they had more content. I mean, if you look at this game, 2 discs, there's a lot of stuff going on in this game. There's a lot of nice graphics and a lot of awesome music, and so they fit a lot on the 2 discs. Now, I remember, just like any other Cinemaware game, thank God for WHD load. You've got a lot of slowdown on the original, and it was never ever a quick effort to play these. So it's actually a lot more fun now to be able to play them at a quick pace. So the premise of this is taken. That anyone would know if they're an old guy like me is if anyone says, "Hey, this sort of looks like The Rocketeer." Right? Remember that movie that came out from Disney? The Rocketeer was a comic book, and before that there was a serial. If you remember, I guess serials were worldwide. No. It was a serial which would be sometimes would be played at movie theaters before a main feature, and it'd be like a weekly serials, and it was a serial called Commander Cody. All right, this was based on Commander Cody, who was a guy that had a rocket pack he'd fly around. All right, have you ever heard of Commander Cody?
Never heard of him.
I did.
Is this in the same sort of time period as Flash Gordon?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Commander Cody was around forever. So the neat thing, I'm going to credit a great article that the Digital Antiquarian did on his article.
I've read him before.
He's tremendous. I've used him before, and I always mention him when I do because he's such a great well written site. Mm-hmm. So the Jacobs wanted to do a game that was sort of like, their gimmick is they like to have these cinematic games, and they always wanted to do one that was done with a Commander Cody style. And when this game was made, they had intended on using the Commander Cody license. And as you can imagine, this was not a license that was in a lot of things in the 80s, as in, you've never heard of it.
Right.
So no one ever used this license for anything. So they thought, they went ahead and started making a game, didn't even bother getting a license, they were just going to get it, all right? And so lo and behold, they went to go get the license to make this official Commander Cody game, and the license had been bought out from under them by Steven Spielberg, who had planned on using it to do a film.
Yeah.
Well, how did you like the Commander Cody movie?
It didn't come out.
That's right.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because also bought out from under these fellas was the Rocketeer license, which they planned on getting out of the Commander Cody.
So Commander Cody and the Rocketeer was the comic book, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Rocketeer was bought by Disney for a movie, and presumably when that came out, Spielberg just sidelined the Commander Cody film.
Makes sense.
Right. So they figured, the hell with it, we'll just release this under our own storyline, and that's what they did. And so they went back and basically made unlicensed work on the actual thing. So this could have been a Commander Cody game, which again I don't think it really mattered that much, to be completely honest with you. So the game is focuses on the World War II, which if you're watching the video, this is the awesome video of Hitler shaking his fist in front of us watching it on the planes. The premise of this is a scientist sitting at his desk doing some work, and all of a sudden a package appears before him, and it's the jetpack, it's a radium pistol, it's a note, and it basically says, "Listen, this is from the future. The Germans won the war. They've taken over the Earth, and they basically had help, and you need to go and stop them." And so you've got you've got all the gear you need to start being the Rocket Ranger, and that's how you progress. So this game, they basically, when they made this game, they wanted it to have the panache and the cinematic display of Defender of the Crown, but more playable. That's what they were after. And so what you've got, it is very Defender of the Crown in some ways. They basically take the same strategy element, like a light strategy element. Yep. They in this game you have agents, and they have there's a world map. You've got agents on the map. You place these agents in all the different countries in the world, and then they will report back, and they will say, "Listen, there's a Nazi base here, our moon base rocket," or they'll say, "This is they've just brought in a bunch of Lunarium," or they'll say something else, and then that will give you the indication of where to go, and you can move these guys around, and sometimes they get killed, and sometimes. So there's the strategy part of it, which is not really strategy; it's just more like, I don't know, what would you call that? I mean, there's no strategy to it per se. It's just
Yeah, well, that's part of the game that I struggled with, because I didn't really know what they were trying to do with that.
Well,
like how is this? I don't want to get into the criticisms yet. Let's go on.
Well, basically, and there's a method to it after you play it for a while. So the plot. Let's get into that a little bit more. Nazis. So now you've got your jetpack. You've got to stop the Nazis from taking over the world. Okay. They're using an element called Lunarium to, what it does is it lowers men's IQs, which I like, and it also they use it to power rockets and whatnot. And so you can only mine this from the moon. So that means the Nazis have found some way to get to the moon to get this stuff and get back. Okay? So obviously they didn't have that technology. So your job is to stop them, and which means going to their bases and screwing them up, blowing them up, stealing the Lunarium, stealing parts to make your own rocket so you can get to the moon to stop their supply chain. And the game uses that as the main jut of the plot. There are other things that go on, but that's basically what you're doing. I would say this game doesn't have as many elements story-wise as, say, It Came from the Desert. Right? I would say that has more There's more stuff going on.
Yeah.
But this game is probably a more playable actual game, in my opinion.
Let's get to that. What is the actual playable game in this?
Well, what you do is, this game is just like all of Cinemaware's other stuff, a lot of it anyway, it's multiple mini games, okay? For example, there's a mini game where you take off, okay? Where you literally just launch yourself the rocket pack. Doesn't sound hard. I've been playing this game for years, and I've never consistently been able to do it. It drives me... And this is a common problem.
It's not like Defender of the Crown, where right off the bat you have a couple different mini games at your disposal. You have to take off to trigger the events in the game.
Yeah, I mean, if you fail 3 times, the events trigger and time elapses, and you just keep on going, but you're going to need to be fairly competent at taking off. Once you take off, the first thing you do is go after a Zeppelin that has kidnapped a scientist and his daughter. There's a love interest there. When you get to the Zeppelin and for free, then there's actual dialogue. It syncs up pretty well with the voices on and the mouths moving, and you get to sort of pick what you're going to do. So that's kind of neat that they let you do that. Of course, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Girl's hot. Yeah, you know. The scene getting to the Zeppelin where you're shooting this anti-aircraft flak with your radium gun is pretty cool. I think it was... This game, I like a lot of the action in it, but I think they missed a lot of opportunities. And the scenes where you're flying around as the Rocket Ranger, they could have done a lot more with this. There's really only 2 things you do. You shoot down Nazi planes and you shoot this Zeppelin. I could see a lot more elements shooter-wise that you could have done there. I don't know.
And they could have varied the perspective. I mean, they could have had you shooting down the anti-aircraft missiles from the Zeppelin in this sort of, Space Harrier-like way that you have. But when you do the planes, maybe they have you top-down instead.
Right. I think I'll tell you, when I was playing this, and I hadn't played this for quite a while, but it reminded me. This is like the unofficial prequel to like Wings in a lot of ways, where Wings got the gameplay elements right. Of all it's the most playable of the games. They sort of ditched the strategy in it, but where you've got the different perspectives and stuff, this reminds me of that. In another mini game, you are breaking into a base to steal rocket parts, and you have to fight a Nazi guard, fist fighting. And I will say that. I mean, it's graphically it's impressive, but it's not, because the guys just sort of stand there and throw punches. But I mean, you get uppercuts and a cross, and there are four different punches, I believe, and it's fun, and that gets progressively harder as the game goes on, because at the beginning you just crush this guy, but as it wears on, the guys get tougher. There's also a mini game where you're at a temple in the jungle and you're taking out gun turrets in this thing. It's not really that difficult. I didn't find that part that hard. But what you do at these stops is you're either recovering rocket parts or lunarium, right? One thing we should mention is how you travel. Aside from the minigame to leave, you have to pack a certain amount of lunarium into your jetpack. This is the Achilles heel of this game in 2017, excuse me. And that is the dreaded copy wheel. Now, I remember when this game came out, I did not have an actual copy. I never saw this for sale anywhere on Earth. So, again, this is the United States. So I don't feel too awful bad about it. They just wasn't nearby. But I would love to have had the copy wheel, because without it, you could not play this game. The copy wheel will tell us you turn the wheel to what country you're in, and then you look down the line at these numbers at what country you're going to, and it tells us, let's say you're going to Russia, you're in Canada, it'll say pack in 62 lunarium, you'll put that in there, and that's how the game knows where you're going. If you don't pack in the right amount, you either go to the wrong country, or you just go into the ocean.
Right. Just crash.
And I will say, I also played this week on the PC Cinemaware anthology that we got a really good deal on a while back. And that what they have done in that is, if you hit your second button, it just pulls that code wheel down, and you still have to use it. There's no way there's no way to edit it out. This was actually a brilliant bit of copy protection. Back in the day. And so, that's a good way to go. I will say that
The one on the Cinemaware Anthology is
it's not perfect, but that's a nice benefit. And so, but that's a pain. You can't just whip this out and play it whenever you want without the code wheel. So, which is annoying. Basically, that's the game. You're rushing back and forth, collecting linarium, while you're getting these rocket parts. I believe you have to get like 6 parts of the rocket. I think it's 6 to assemble it. You also have to have 500 linarium points to have enough to go to the moon. And if you screw up a lot, you're wasting linarium. That's the problem. So, and then on top of that, you have to keep kind of moving your informants around to make, because you have to find all these different areas, and that's your guys will go there, and sometimes they'll get busted. And there are little paths you can go on. You can get captured in one area, but eventually you cobble together enough linarium, and then you build your rocket and you fly to the moon. I guess I'm a spoiler alert here. So once you get to the moon, you go after, and this is to say I was amused by this. Cinemaware has a something in all their games. There are always these hot, buxom women.
They know where their bread's buttered as far as who's buying it.
And so of course you had the scientist's daughter, your love interest, but then that wasn't enough. So when you get to the moon, you find that a lot of hot chicks have been enslaved.
Of course.
And they're digging linarium with their fingernails while they're being whipped by hot Nazi bikini women. Sure, I mean it could happen, right?
I mean, who among us?
And they're in stripper boots. I thought to myself, holy smokes, a fetishist dream right here. So, being the gallant hero that you are, you have to shoot them with your radium gun. And there's a scene where they're shooting at you, and you have to sort of shoot them down. And then once you do that, the game says that you've done it. Congratulations. And then in this awesome bit, and I'll have to give the game again. If you don't want to spoil it, skip the next couple minutes. But at the end, an alien rips through that ending screen. And then you have to shoot this alien's tentacled eyes basically off.
Wow. Sort of like it came from the desert.
Exactly. And you find out that aliens had been hooked up with the Nazis to provide them technology to help them win, which is a neat twist. I thought was kind of cool. And then they ended up you knock them out, and then the game's over for now. Basically, that shtick, but for how long? And that's the game. What do you think? I've been talking for a while. Give me your thoughts.
Well, this is your typical Cinemaware experience, where you have, you're presented with this totally immersive world without much direction from the get-go about exactly how things work. Now, at first I was like, okay, well, that's no big deal. I will look at the manual and I'll read the manual. Well, the manual has couched itself inside the narrative.
Yes.
So you can't just say, okay, lunarium, like loading up the rocket thing. How am I supposed to do that? You've got to like read through reams of backstory, and like everything is written in such a way that it's part of the story, but it doesn't help you as a game player as much as it should.
It's not bullet pointed.
Right. And I felt frustrated by that. Now, it's also possible that I was looking at a typed up copy of the manual that was not formatted in the same way that the original manual was. Thing two about this game. I was unable to play this game because I was unable to take off. I tried for like 15 minutes. I even recorded a thing that I never put up because I like to do those first impressions videos. But nobody wants to watch 15 minutes of me fail to take off.
Yeah, I also had trouble. I mean, you could, once you don't take off, you'll still like let you go, but and so that's how I keep going. But yeah, that part. I mean, that's one of the. It's funny how goofy that is. One of the complaints about this game was people always, and we've talked this. People always thought the Defender was too easy. Okay,
which I don't know who those people are.
No, it's real. I mean, back in the day, I could go through it pretty quick. I mean, it's a pretty easy game, and so Cinemaware decided we'll pump this sucker up. Well, this game ain't easy, man. It's hard, and some of the and you're right. Some of the areas it sort of doesn't. I mean, I've read the manual, and I've read the actual manual, so you're not too far off. I mean, there's a lot of cool backstory. It's well written. Don't get me wrong,
it's like a little novelette.
But like, for example, when you're fighting the Zeppelin, you can't just avoid the flak. You got to be shooting this flak. You know, that's
which doesn't really make sense.
You know, and when you're in the jungle, you don't just avoid getting shot. You've got to shoot. Take out the gun turrets. Right? You have to figure it out. And the Lunarium, it can be tricky. And if you misread your code wheel, I mean, this thing. I know it doesn't take a genius to operate a code wheel, but if you're just lounging around, 46, you load it up and go. Well, you picked the wrong number. This is a column of numbers. You've wasted all that Lunarium. You could be screwed.
Right. It's game over at that point. You just got to restart.
Because you
can't get it back.
You get behind the 8 ball. You can get it back. But you have to. It's difficult. You know. You can catch up, but it can be tough. So, and then there's a method to deploying those spies. That's the hardest part. Is deploying aside from the taking off, the hardest part is deploying those spies effectively. You have to look all over. And you've got X amount of time to get this done, and so you've got to deploy these guys in areas and act as soon as they find something. You got to act quick and then move them along.
Right.
You know? So that can be. It's not complicated at all. But when you first start playing, it can be. You can just be like, "What the hell am I doing?" It can be difficult for you. I like this game a lot because it's got a lot of panache and it's well written game. The dialogue, the music's great, the graphics are great.
The graphics are spectacular,
and the plot's tremendous. I enjoy it. And I think the mini games are more playable than the ones in Defender of the Crown, for example. I like the flying and I like the shooting a lot, and the fighting's pretty good too. I don't like them a lot. They're okay. Okay, I don't like any of the mini games a lot, but they're again, this is not Wings.
It's not Wings,
but they're fun. I can play them over and over. I mean, the downside of it is when you and this is again this comes up over and over. But when you play this, when you're going through this game, when you fight that soldier the first time, there's this big dialogue box, and the guy says something effective. The guy has a rifle, but he throws it down and ushers you forward to come fight this guy. You're going to get bruised up. But when you read it, you're like, oh yeah, it's like Indiana Jones. But when you read it like 10 times,
you're like, just let me fight him.
There are 10 different guys all over the world. These are the worst guards. You think after you busted through the first rocket parts place, the Nazis would be like, listen, don't just shoot this guy.
Right.
For God's sakes, don't punch with him. He's golden gloves or whatever. Just shoot him, So that does get a little goofy. But I think overall it's a pretty fun game. If you're really good at it, you can beat it in probably 45 minutes. I personally have not beat it. One time when I was younger, I got to the moon and I got killed, unfortunately. But I get to see the awesome graphics of the chicks whipping the other chicks. I was like, oh yeah, but I didn't get there. And playing it this time around, I had some. I can beat a lot of the levels, but I just it's tough to get all that. It's tough not to screw up,
right.
Which I tended to do. So. On the Cinemaware scale, I would place this ahead of the stuff we've done, throwing out the sports titles. I would place this ahead of Defender of the Crown, but well back from Wings. Like I said, everything about it is great, except I don't like the code wheel. I don't like the taking off part. And really, this sort of a wasted opportunity. Again, they were working on it with time constraints and the usual stuff. But I think they could have done more. The flying again. We're looking at the video flyby over here. The flying could have been cooler. I would like to have seen like a full-fledged shooter in there,
right?
To break it up. I mean, just to make it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why you couldn't have gotten in your own. You don't have to take the rocket belt everywhere,
right? And also, like for example, like when you're fighting the planes, they fly in an idiotic way. They just like a big Lotto, just got like, right. It's like, come on.
Well, all of these type of mini games. That's the fatal flaw is that I think that the developers kind of spread themselves thin.
Yeah, well, I think it was atmosphere first, and then we'll just kind of put something together. And again, I don't want to kill this mini game because I like a lot of the mini games are okay. but they're not great.
Right.
Again, they're not Wings level good. And really, if you're looking at Wings as the pinnacle of what they did in terms of this sort of game, and not having played, we haven't got covered. It came from the Desert 2 yet, so I can't confirm how that plays. We also haven't played. There's a bunch we haven't played. King Chicago, and we'll get to them.
Yeah. And
we'll see how they. But I mean, this is somewhere in the middle. I would say in terms of gameplay, in terms of story, plot. It's a great plot. It's wacky. You know, I enjoyed it. I know this was amongst. If you look at all the Cinemaware games, this was amongst the most popular from the people that made it. I know I know John Cutter says this is his favorite of all of them, and I know that the Jacobs say this is their favorite game that they did. So, you know,
do you like this better? You didn't mention it came from the desert in your comparison. Where does this fall with it came from the desert?
Mini games are better in this. The mini games it came from the desert. I didn't like it all, to be completely honest with you.
You didn't like escaping the hospital?
No, I didn't. I could never get out of that damn thing. I like shooting at the bugs. That was kind of neat. But no, I think the mini games are better. Storyline. I mean, it came from the desert. It's so wacky. I think it's more movie-like. You know, so I think atmosphere-wise, maybe a little bit better. Mini game-wise, probably not as good. You know, having not played the second one, which we're going to jump on at some point. We'll see. We'll get through pretty much. I'd say there's a lot of similar titles I haven't played yet, so I'm looking forward to trying them. But this one, it's funny. I used to love this game. Still like it. Don't get me wrong, but I will say it hasn't. To me, the gameplay didn't age. It wasn't as much fun as I remembered. I hate to say it. There you go. So, any final thoughts on this one?
Well, I just wanted to just remind everybody that Rocket Ranger is available from Cinemaware Retro. They have extended their extended collector's edition to include Rocket Ranger as well as Defender of the Crown. Looks like there are still plenty in stock. If you can stand waiting what could be months and months for yours to arrive, as we did. Once it did get here, it was great. But just be aware that is an issue. And check that out. And, you know, if you like these things, the only way to make them make more is to buy the ones that they have.
Right, you remind me, too, I forgot to mention this. Rocket Ranger was Kickstarted for a remake. I don't know. Do you remember this coming out?
Rocket Ranger Reloaded. They were talking about it. No, they were talking about it in the chat.
Yeah. It was the campaign for it was launched in November 2014, and it got funded in December. So it got funded. It barely made it. And I read into this. I wanted to figure out what happened because it ended up being the project got canceled. I thought that's weird that it got funded and it got canceled.
Yeah, Neil was talking about it in the chat. He said that it looked great, but they never ended up.
Yeah, they had a demo. They had a video. Well, what happened was, I looked into it. They raised the amount of money they needed, but they found out like 30% of the money was sent in on like bad credit card. Basically, the 30% of the money didn't exist.
Yeah, that's not uncommon on Kickstarter.
What they had to do was they had to say, listen, we've got to come up with. I think they got funded for like right around $100,000, $90,000, something like that, and they had to fund $30,000. They had to find funding, and they asked took a vote amongst their backers. Can you guys wait an indefinite amount of time, or do you want your money back? And the backers voted to wait, which that shows you right there how beloved people. And we've talked about how much people love Cinemaware, and Rocket Rangers are one of their biggest titles. And then eventually they just said they couldn't do it, and so and to their credit, they refunded all the backers, which is something apparently is quite unusual. So that one went down. Maybe one of these days we'll get to see that one come back to life. You know,
if you were pushing for an Amiga remake, would Rocket Ranger be near the top of the list?
It would be way up there. Really, Rocket Ranger. Really, a lot of similar titles would be up there. And I use Wings as an example. The remake of that's tremendous. They kept everything that made the game fun, and then they added modern stuff to it that I liked. So I would be all in favor of it. You know, I forgot to mention this early on. I was looking at what this. I didn't realize how ported this game was in the day, and I was going to ask you if you played any of these. Like I briefly mentioned to you on chat, there was an Apple IIgs version. It's supposed to be quite good, and it's supposed to have really good music with it. There's an Atari ST version. Of course, there's a Commodore 64 version. I've seen that one. Here's another oddball one, and this comes up every once in a while. The FM Towns Marty got a version. which I thought that was strange. The one I wanted to ask you about, the NES version. Now, it seems like I heard that it was horrible.
Boy, this seems like one of those games that I would always see at a thrift store or whatever, and I would just pass on over.
Right. I remember hearing that it was not good. And, of course, it was a DOS version as well that I heard wasn't that great. Actually, that's also part of the package that I would try. I don't think I've tried a single game in that package for the PC. I checked on eBay. This is a pretty tough game. Right now in the U.S., you can buy Rocket Ranger shipped for $70, and I thought to myself, "You got to be kidding me!" Well, one sold in January for $75.
Wow,
impressive. If you're in Germany, you've got better chances. You can get one over there for $14-15 US. Norway, I saw some there on compilation. UK, you're looking at $20 to $40, but it's all over the map. I've seen these things go for a little bit and not a lot. Mm-hmm. They also had a 5-issue comic book based on Rocket Ranger. I think Malibu put it out, but don't hold me to that.
What is Malibu known for?
It's nothing really. I looked it up on eBay to see if there was anyone for sale. They only made 5 issues, and one of them basically has a mostly nude woman on the front, so I don't know how that played. Maybe it's the scientist's daughter. I don't know. A couple of these in Australia and these are going for some bucks, man. I was surprised. You can get issue 1 for like $12, and issue 3 is like $27, your best offer. And then there was a crossover with another character from Malibu for like $20. There were 2 of those were in Australia, so kind of weird. But those comics aren't out there.
Have you read any of the Rocket Ranger comics before?
No, I didn't know they even existed. Yeah. To be honest with you, and then finally we'll get to reviews. The reviews were pretty good. Amiga Format gave it an 89. Amiga Power gave it a 68. So they weren't as impressed. A couple magazines gave it 97 and a 90. So it was mostly high stuff. Of course, that would have been pretty revolutionary stuff for back in those days.
Yeah.
But I recommend it. Give it a shot. It may not hold up, but it's definitely worth an afternoon.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and close things out by thanking our Patreon sponsors. If you like the show and you'd like to support us and keep the lights on, feel free to drop by our page at patreon.com/Amigos Podcast. Just like our newest supporter, Kim Tommy Humbertstadt.
Wow.
I'm not sure if that's how you say that.
Triple word score.
But we've also got Josh Nan, David McCrandles, Jason Warnes, Graham Vebke, Rob O'Hara, Paul Harrington, sorry about your shirt, Paul, Laurent Giroux, Jonas Ruhl, Kolbjorn Barman, Tapes from the Crypt, Adam Bradley, Chris Folds, Will Williams, Daniel Bingston, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Chad Halstead, and Brent Dowdy.
What happened to Paul's shirt?
Paul ordered a staff shirt.
Yeah.
And something happened where they sent him an older version instead of the newer version with his name on it.
There's different versions?
Yeah, because every time somebody's name gets added to it.
I see. Wow, he got hosed on that one. Yeah.
So sorry about that, Paul. But anyway, I think that he might be able to contact them and they can work it out. Because the folks over at TeePublic, they're good people. They've responded to me and they're great. They're great folks over there. So anyway, I guess next week, Aaron, we got to figure out what we're going to play.
Well, I was just going to look at the list I made up months ago. Let me see here. I'm trying to think of what it was going to be on there. I remember. Do you remember what we were going to do next week?
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Let's do. Since I can't remember, but I know this is on it. Well, let's try Star Control.
Star Control.
Star Control.
All right. So let's go ahead and do Star Control next week, and
we plan ahead.
It'll be wonderful. Anyway, if you want to check us out live, we record every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. That's the stream starts whether Aaron's here or not. I'll be here hanging around, and that's 10 p.m. UK time. And we've got a very active chat room. I want to thank David and Henrik and Pishbot and Neil and Tobias and Jonas and all those guys hanging out in the chat. You're all part of the Amigos community, and we're glad to have you. So, until next time, adios.